Hello, Matt here, Hollywood's Garage. Today we got two LS engines. This is my LQ4 that was in my Venture to begin with. If you've been following along, I pulled it out so I can clean up the engine bay, fix the wiring, spray paint the subframe and whatnot, just to make it a little more friendlier. But in doing so, when I had taken that engine out, I was fixing an oil leak as well. It was coming out of the rear. So off came the oil pan and the rear, I guess, rear cover. And when I had the oil pan off, I went to him like, oh, you know what? Let's just look in there. Let's just clean it out. Took it out, took off the, there's a cover in there, obviously, for a baffle. Took that off, and lo and behold, we found some bearing material in there. There's a bearing or bearings that decided to leave the chat. There was no signs of bad bearings. Hot idle, I was at 50 PSI. There was no weird noises, no clunking or nothing like that, so it was a shock to me. So I ended up finding the exact same LQ4 right here. Pulled it yesterday out of a 04 3/4 ton 4x4. Pretty much same engine that this one was out of. So we're gonna take this. I haven't pulled the oil out of it yet. We're gonna pull the oil out, check that out. I ended up turning it over by hand before pulling it out of the truck. It had good compression from when I was pulling it out. We'll drain it, check it out, get the back all stuff off, the mounts of the engine stand. And then this one, we're gonna, after we tear that one apart, we're gonna take this one apart and see if the cam and stuff is still good. You know, as long as this engine's still good. Once you take the stuff off and check out the bearings and whatnot, check cylinders, we'll take the heads off. These are the stock heads. These are the 317s that the LQ4s came with. I mean, honestly, they're okay if you're boosting. They're not a performance gainer by any means. Where these are the 799 248 heads, so they bump up the compression to like a 10.5-ish, I think, is from the LQ4's gain from those heads. And then I do have a cam in this one. It's the Trick Flow Floppy Stage 2 cam, the 585 lift cam with springs to match. And hopefully the cam is still good. We'll reuse that. And obviously all the front accessories will mount switch over. And then oil pan, which is a Holly 302-3. Meant for turbo drains. And then we'll use my flex plate, my rear cover. This had no leaks on it. Like, it's a good running engine. There was no leaks. The front's dry. The rear's dry. I guess there's a little bit down in there, but it's hard to really tell. Could have been when we took it apart. When we pulled this, I did see that some of the bolts were like mismatched on the transmission. So either the transmission's been out to be swapped, or they had it out to do a rear main seal on it. Either way, the truck had about 200,000 kilometers on it in American units. That's at what, 160 for miles. So relatively should be good. This one, when I took this one and getting it ready to put in the car, cylinders were glazed over. She's probably a high miler, 300,000 or so. So if we have any cross hatching in this, it's a win for me. Right there is huge. As long as the bearings and all that are good, like I say. Okay, first of all, let's get the oil drained. We'll get the coolant out of it by removing that front, moving the water pump. That should drain it. And then once we get the back all kind of taken apart, we'll mount it on the engine stand over there. And we'll see what we're working with. I'll report back when we get to that point. Here's what's coming out. It's obviously dark. I checked the oil before doing this and it was right on the full level, and it was didn't smell like gas. So far so good. The drain plug here, it's got some old oil on it there, but no metal from what I see. So fingers crossed. She's thick oil though. I don't know how long this truck was sitting for. It was used for parts, so it had no fenders on it and whatnot. I'll insert the picture here of how I found it. And then we just decided to pull it, and hopefully she's a gooder. Okay, well, I'll finish letting this drain. Now, is it just me, or am I the only one that hates engine stands? I just never trust them. You put the weight on it, and it just keeps going and going and going, and it finally stops, I guess. But I ended up using, I think these are old head bolts. So hopefully I don't stretch too much, if you know what I mean. Should be fine. Okay, well, no water came out, no coolant came out when I took the pump off, so that was good. All of it ended up probably in the back of my truck. Yay! Okay, well, I think next is let's take these heads off. Well, once we get them off, we'll see the cylinders and we'll have a good idea of what we're working with. Maybe? Or should we go for the crank first? 6 one, half a dozen the other. Let's go heads. I mean, they're more fun, right? Notorious LS. The only bolt that was snapped was the rear one on the driver's side. Anyway, I'm only working on the driver's side anyway, but so that one was already broken. The rest all came out nice and neat. Let's look at the valves. That valve looks good. A little bit of oil on top of that valve. On the stem anyway. I'm not using these heads, but a little bit of oil, so valve seals might be gone, but I'll get this head off. I'm pretty happy only one was broken though, and of course it's always that rear one, which is in the truck, man, that'd be a bitch to try to get out, but it's doable. Just I'm glad I don't have to worry about it. Valve cover off. Pretty clean in here. You know, a little bit of old oil. I don't know if it's really grit or what, but it's all I'm seeing for remnants of, like, I guess, bad. Other than that, these are all nice and tight. Oh, a little bit, might be on the base lobe. Yeah, not bad at all. Pop these off, and then the bolts come off for the head. Push rods came out all nice and straight. No funny wear. They all roll perfect. Still good. Okay, the old head bolts. I should have 4 up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry. And then you got your main ones here, then your main ones down here. Then the old head should pop off, and hopefully not a bunch of coolant, because I don't really want to clean up my floor. She's looking pretty good. A little bit of coolant came out of this jacket, so good job on me putting that there and guessing. But pistons all look good. They're not too carboned up. The walls are smooth, but there's no scratches or gouges. Let me get a light to show you guys a little better. There we go. Yeah, a little. There we go. I mean, like I said, a little smooth, but no gouges or scratches. I haven't really rotated it. This is how I found it. A little bit of dirt, of course, just from taking the head off. I vacuumed some of it out. So far, so good. We'll take the lifter trays out now, and then we'll do the other head. Huh. Happy so far. All the roller lifters are good. Rolled them all nice and smooth, no gouging. Trays are still good. I checked the bores, they all look good. The cam, from what you can see, the rollers look good. I think she's a good one, guys. I think she's a runner. I mean, a little dirty, of course. My vacuum's shit, so other than that, it looks good. Guy around the orange, coolant still in her. Oh, we lost a dowel pin on this side. Make sure I pull that out and put it back in. So here's a little trick. I'll show you all how this is all cleaned up here after, but dowel, you see how that dowel's missing? That one stayed in the head. Well, make sure, I like to keep these in the block, so that way the head just sits right on. You put the you can put the gaskets on, and the head right on top to hold the gaskets on. You'll notice they get stuck in the block. You'll look, the upper one here is stuck in the block. It sits flush. So the best thing you can do is grab a little flat head. Don't grab too big because it won't work. And just kind of push it out. Sometimes you have to use a hammer to help beat it out, but this one's pretty loose already. Just don't forget that step. You want those dowels. It centers the head on there. And then you just go ahead and you mallet it back into the block with Devlo. Now let's talk about so far what I have on taken off. All the rockers were good on the drinker side, on the passenger side. I haven't took the trays out yet. I just took the head off. A little bit of junk in there still, but you know what? So far so good. I don't see any gouges. I'll get this vacuumed out and cleaned out. Then we'll take these out and we'll check those. The only cylinder that had any sort of issues was, what is this? I don't know, 6, I think? I can't remember how Chevys count. Anyway, this would be passenger side, third one back. A little bit of rust on top of that valve, as you can see. So the piston must have sat on that location for a while. When the truck was down, it had the intake still on and everything, so no idea how water got in there. Maybe a bent head gasket, I don't know. The sealing surface around it looks good, so it's hard to say. But I don't feel any grooves or nothing like that with my fingernail. It's just this coloration. If a guy took Scotch-Brite, some WD-40, I bet you that'd come right off. But there, even like the upper grooves here, there's nothing. It's a smooth transition. This is a good block from what I see so far. And honestly, that's not even that big of a deal. That little bit there. Yeah, see? So we'll take this front off, the front cover. We'll pull the cam out, and then we'll flip her upside down and take the pan off. So far, I'm happy with the purchase. Note to self, when buying the cheapest, second cheapest 3-jaw harmonic balancer puller, they're gonna bend a rod. I mean, they got it off, but it did bend, so just FYI, just watch out for that, because I'm gonna be putting on, I gotta pull that one off still and put it on. That's the F-body spacing. That's obviously truck spacing, but it does come off, just FYI. Just this is the New Choice brand off Amazon. It's 50 bucks. So far so good, I got it off. Just have fun with that. Get to deal with that. Straighten it back up, put it back, use it again, I guess. The factory bump stick, she's in good shape. No funny wears, nothing. It came out nice and smooth. She's good. And I'll let you check my cam bearings for me, since if I look, I let the magic out. How do they look? I'm kidding, I already looked. A little bit of copper showing is fine for cam bearings. It's a non-issue. A lot of guys will say otherwise, but there is no issues in this in these bearings. They all stayed in there. All 5 of them are still in. Looks good. Okay, let's rotate this bad boy over and let's get to that bottom end where the last of the bearings can be checked. And then we'll take off this oil pump. We'll end up putting a new one on. If this motor turns out to be good. Okay, let's break this pan seal. See what we get. Just looking in the bottom of the pan here. So far so good, just dirty oil. But I mean, I did have it upside down, had the top open, so dirt could be falling in too, but so far so good. It's funny, eh? On these oil pumps, they have threaded on both sides, but only ever use one. If you don't end up getting a pickup tube that has where it uses both bolts, they do sell a quick thing on Amazon that'll put another bolt, like a C-clamp around the base of the factory pickup. That's honestly what's gonna hold the seal the best. I mean, obviously the one works, but if you don't put it on straight, and if you use this to tighten down that, when you go put a new one on, it'll put the O-ring crooked and you will aerate your oil. So ask me how I know. Okay, let's continue taking this off. Won't be using this windage tray either. The Holley 302-3 can uses a modified tray off like an LS3. I'm going off of memory with that, where it comes off of, but definitely doesn't use this one. Dipstick tube broke off on me. Pop. Well, so far so good. I mean, haven't touched anything, but kind of get off all this grime. So a little bit of side to side rod is okay. They're floating, right? So a little bit of side to side. You don't want any up and down or this way. I say it's good, guys. Shook them all, they all look good. Doesn't seem to be any bearing issues in the rod caps. I mean, I could take one off just to see, but They all look good. Let's see if we can see any the skirts of the pistons, any issues with those. It's got oil in it, of course. From the filter. So far, they all look good. They're all present. Cross hatching is showing. So far, so good. Rods are all straight. Yeah, we have a good engine, guys. Good engine. Probably gonna just throw my heads on it, or even gonna throw this right into the car and use it with boost. But I do have, hopefully my other engine still has a good cam in it. We can throw that in and we'll put a new oil pump on, of course. I mean, for the $50 to $100, why wouldn't you? I'm gonna be using a standard volume one. I had a high pressure one in there in my last engine. I feel like that was the issue. Or I don't know why bearings ate themselves, because I had 50 to 70 PSI in that other engine all the time. So I don't know why, but when you go turbo, you don't want that much PSI anyway. It could blow past the turbo bearing seals. So like the block is still even black on this. Let me grab a rag. Yeah, this block is still black. It cleans up great. I'll bring you guys in. Like, look at that block. It's still painted black in like factory. It's clean. Don't even have to worry about painting it. Just gotta clean it up. I like my blocks black anyway. I don't like them orange or any other color. But yeah, all looks good. Super happy. I mean, all the oil from the filter when I had it upside down. But cross hatching still showing on the bottom of that one. Rods are all good. No freaky deaky. Okay guys, that's the teardown on an LQ4 LS. Obviously, oil pump will still come off, but that's the teardown. Super happy with this engine. All in all, anyone knows, these have gone up in value crazy. When I put that engine together, junkyard engine, I think I paid, someone built it kind of for me. The first one anyway, until, like I said, the O-ring issue. I wrecked the bearings in that one. I aerated the oil because it was sucking air in through the O-ring because I never had a heater right. Anyway, so pretty much back in the day, it was kind of taken apart and kind of quickly hand honed and hand built. LS1 heads, came with a cam. I had to buy the front accessory, came with the truck one, which I ran for a little while, but I put these ones on. Anyway, I paid like 2,500 bucks. You know, someone went through and checked it all for me. That was when I was brand new to LS's. This right here, this whole engine, I had to help tear it out. I had 2 old boys help me though. We had a lift and everything, like a picker to pick it out of the engine bay. The truck was half apart, as you saw from that photo. Just took the front rad support out and was able to pick that thing right out with the transmission and the transfer case. It's doable, guys. A lot of guys say the transfer case has to come off to pull those on those Chevys. You don't. It comes out as one as long as all the fronts take it apart. Anyway, I paid $600 for this engine. Of course, could start it because the whole truck was used for parts, right? So the whole wiring in the dash, all that was ripped out of it. Couldn't even check verify mileage. He was told 200,000 kilometers. So, and I would say it's about there. It looks good. I asked why the truck was parked. He said it was just because he got a better one, it was less rusty. So he started switching panels out and using it as a parts truck. And it ended up in this guy's hands that I bought it from, who ends up taking it for scrap. But super happy with this purchase. A lot of guys want $600 for an engine that has piston slap, or one had issues with the clearance where the lifter, like the lifter bore had scratches, you know, $1,000. Like, a lot of guys want way too much for these things now. It's ridiculous. Your best bet, honestly, is don't buy off of Facebook. Go to a junkyard. It'll come with a warranty. It'll be like 1,500 bucks, $2,000. Maybe even $1,000, and it's got a warranty. So yeah, labor, but I mean, I have labor into this, tearing it apart to check it. And I don't have a warranty. And if this ends up being crappy, well, that's on me, right? But super happy. So I'll end up tearing that apart, and hopefully the cam's good. All I'm gonna use out of that is a cam. Obviously my lifters would match the lobes of the cam, because that was new when the cam was put in. The heads, front accessories, the rear seal, the rear plate. I can use the factory one, but I like this plate. It's SFI, I think it is rated, for the matches with my Circle D torque converter. The rear seal, sorry, I think I said the rear cover I'll use, the rear pan, or sorry, the pan I'll use. I'll change up my cam sensor. I'll put this into the blocks. I'm running a factory or a analog gauge, pressure gauge, since I don't have, my Phytech doesn't read oil pressure, so I have a gauge in the car. So yeah, that'll be a quick dirty tear down, sorry. There you go, basic tools, guys. These engines are super easy to work on. And even to put it all back together, to do the valve train, do your valves and stuff, it's super simple. Lots of videos on that. Okay guys, well, I'll leave it there. Hey, everyone, hope you learned a little bit. Take chances, $600. Could have went either way, so far so good. And do it yourself, guys. Learn, it's easy. Basic tools, cheap to do. Hey guys, catch you on the next one.